Today we're talking with Jewell, a former QA engineer that just broke into tech sales. Not only was he a QA engineer in the past, but he's also had numerous different careers. So I know you're going to get a lot out of it. You're also going to learn about his interview experience, what it took to break in, and his experience with tech sales Ascension. If you do have any questions, I'm going to put his LinkedIn in the description below. Obviously, feel free to comment. And if you're interested in tech sales Ascension and breaking into tech sales, there's a free lesson in the description below. But nonetheless, I know you're going to get a lot out of this conversation and appreciate your time as always.
All right, Jewell, great to see you again. And before we get ahead of ourselves and dive right in, I would love you to kind of set the stage. I know you've had a couple of different careers and also now kind of making this move into a more technical sales role. Where were you at before taking Tech Sales Ascension, and where are you at now?
Right. So I just started my career in tech sales with a reseller selling all kind of SaaS products. And that model was good for that moment, but I didn't get the best training and I really wanted to improve my performance. So tech sales Ascension really helped me to get to the next level. And then from the reseller model to get to make a change again after 7 months later with a software development company that's it becomes an integral part of either a startup or established company who needs help with their project. So I made a change from the reseller model to software development model. So you guys have been part of my journey and growth from setting SQL appointments to demos and doing all kind of technical work throughout my journey. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. And it's been great to work with you and see that progression throughout. I know one of the things I'd be interested in too, for anyone really, but certainly someone that's maybe mid-career looking to make a transition, you had that QA experience that we talked about. And in some cases, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you had gotten feedback that your qualifications almost exceeded expectations. So I'm curious, your perspective, kind of like we mentioned, having other careers before tech sales, any objections? What were some of the things that you experienced there? How did you improve and overcome those over time?
As far as the qualification and objections is to show the interest, and despite okay, maybe you're overqualified for this role, right? And to overcome that objection is to show that I'm not here for short term. I'm here for long term, right? And to show my vision of where I can grow into. That's the biggest difference maker for me. And then being concise and prominent with my word choice. As a QA engineer, I do have a little bit of professorial issues that I had to overcome. So you guys have been really instrumental with being more concise with my wording. So that helped a lot as far as get to the point faster.
No, that's awesome. I'm curious too. Given you had previous experience, what made you decide to sign up for Tech Sales Ascension, or even to pay for help throughout this process? You had a little bit of sales experience previously. You obviously have a very well-versed background. What went into that decision to make that jump into paid training?
Good question, Chris. So I got trained in Course Korea as well, and although that training was pretty good, it seemed like you guys are the final touch for my journey in tech sales, as far as the getting on the weekly work call, almost like a group shop, right? And then hand holding, a lot of you guys have great perspective. Eric's, I call him the Spock of tech sales, very serious, the point. You're that Mr. Perspective, reframing in positive ways. So love that. In both energies, right? So that's awesome. What else? Just qualitative, quantitative approach to resume creation, and then whether sequencing emails, all those different things that we face as SDRs in technical companies. You guys been tremendous in filling the gap that I didn't get in my first company or with the Course Korea. So you guys been awesome in that, in all those little steps.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's always good to hear. I'm curious, you mentioned course careers and maybe other courses too. Could you dive a little bit deeper into the core differences between those programs, and then how Ascension in particular helped your job search? Was there anything in particular? You mentioned live coaching, weekly live mentoring. Apart from that, content wise, was there anything that you feel was lacking in other programs that you got through Ascension? Or just curious to get your experience here.
Yeah, again, going back to the community, the sense of like students helping students, right? The weekly call, like with Course Korea, as good as they are, it's self-paced. I'm not getting in touch with the leadership. Here I am talking to both of you guys and all the graduates. So I'm like constantly feeding off everybody's wisdom and experience. What else? And just like all those different things and sequencing emails. And I mean, I could go into different things. It's not coming to me right now at the moment, but you guys have been awesome. Like I said, it's like one hand, left hand versus right hand working together, between the two courses. That's how I see it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it's great. And I know that you had some really good relationships internally too, like with other, with other members of the course. So it was awesome to see you just like, prosper and grow and like even just overcoming, some of the challenges. But yeah, Eric, I'll kick it back to you.
Yeah, no, really appreciate the context. And that's kind of my question for you now, right? As you've gone through this process, I know like Chris mentioned and you mentioned, you were able to network with a lot of students, get a lot of value from people who have been through this process already. Now that you're through this, looking back, what do you recommend to someone who's newer in this process, maybe just now considering tech sales, starting to get some bites on interviews? Any big learnings from your perspective that would be valuable for anyone that's new?
One other thing I don't think I mentioned is like doing the discovery role play, right? And doing I already mentioned the email sequencing. Discovery just wasn't coming to me. That's something we do so often. So that is stuff that we do real life. So training here translated to performance, improved performance in my job, So I kind of like did it in reverse, right? I already had a job, but I wanted to get better because I'm an optimizer. So you guys have been doing that. So I would say the weekly workshop, the team effort, and all those different videos, like everything you guys touch on, everything, a single thing as a technical SDR would do, especially a senior SDR. And you're not just making calls and booking appointments. You're also doing discovery. Discovery is a key component to the business, especially a senior SDR. So that has been tremendous for me. That's one thing that I wanted to cover as well.
And yeah, I guess you kind of touched on it there, but like, is there anything else, like any advice, for somebody who's preparing? I know you came into this with a little bit more experience, but in hindsight, do you have any sort of advice for somebody who maybe is like brand new to tech sales? Like any advice you'd give for them before they go into this entire process?
Well, first of all, I had 2.5 years of financial services sales. That was a long time ago, 7+ years ago, right? And then prior to that, just course career and you guys, like working together. Well, I did both courses. So my recommendation is just spend that few dollars. It's not a lot. It's super worth it as far as the investment. Your rate of return for the money you invest, it's totally worth it. And you can't get enough knowledge in this hyper competitive world. So if you want to break into a senior SDR role, you need every ounce of information out there. And this is curated, precise information. It's totally worth the few dollars for investing in yourself. Basically, you're investing in your craft.
No, this has been great, Jewell. And one of the things I wanted to kind of focus on too in closing is you put a lot of energy and effort to get lots of different opportunities on the table. And I'm just curious, how you could speak to that in terms of the energy that it took, the focus. Curious how you would articulate that to someone who's new and really may want to get a sense for what it takes to make a drastic change and land in a position in tech sales that you really wanted.
Consistency. Show up every Wednesday night. I know I sound like a broken record, but I'm going to beat that horse to death, and just show up, be consistent, and keep improving, keep iterating the process. Look for every little distinction. Listen to other students, their struggles, and how they're improving. And if they're already in the industry, pick their brain. So how can I improve my overcoming objections, right? So it's a constant iteration is the process how I improve the reseller, and then being able to have the transition with multiple choices and offers to choose the best company where I feel that I can really grow into the next level. I mean, this new roles that I'm I accepted is like giving me the option to grow into from senior SDR to account executive, right? So it's very fast. It's a startup, great visionaries, the company, the CEO, and the leadership. They have amazing track record and background. So I'm really excited to have that option to choose the best company for me. So I appreciate that. And just consistency. I mean, one word, just keep showing up. The Wednesday night. Right.
Yeah. Love to hear it. And congrats again, Jewell. Really excited for you. And yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.